Downtown San Antonio and the Riverwalk add another title, Federal Historic District, a designation preservation experts say means protections and incentives to ensure a future for downtown's venerable buildings and gathering spaces. A San Antonio woman convicted alongside her husband in January for a 2017 dangerous dog attack where an elderly woman lost her arm has been formally sentenced to 10 years probation. Tensions rise in Austin, where authorities say Sunday's bombing is linked to 3 other bomb attacks this month in Texas's bustling, trendy capital city. And while the Fiesta Flambeau Parade may be more than a month away, members of the Kazamba dance and drum group are working to fine-tune their act for the 70th anniversary of what's billed as America's largest illuminated night parade. Good morning. Those are your headlines from expressnews.com. I'm Chance Dorland with your Express News briefing for Tuesday, March 20th. Brought to you this morning by the San Antonio Express News. Most of downtown San Antonio is now a federal historic district with protections and incentives to ensure a future for venerable buildings and gathering spaces throughout downtown. And preservation experts say the change could mean more restoration projects. Nearly 18 months after the Texas Historical Commission approved an application prepared by the city's Office of Historic Preservation, last month the National Park Service added the district to the National Register of Historic Places. And it appears the timing couldn't be better, as San Antonio celebrates its 300th birthday this year. But the title also adds to the city's reputation for historic significance, alongside the 2015 designation of its 5 Spanish colonial missions as a World Heritage Site. The new historic district includes nearly 200 buildings and other historic properties, many of which were constructed between 1912 and 1930. The listing does not restrict the sale or use of private property, mandate maintenance requirements, or provide the same level of protection as local landmark or historic district designation, but does allow for opportunities to apply for grants for historic restoration or rehabilitation. And properties within the new historic district's boundaries are eligible for state and federal tax credits equal to 45% of most renovation expenses. In January, 31-year-old Stanielle Miles McLeod and her 29-year-old husband Alfonso McLeod, both decorated Army veterans, were convicted of a dangerous dog attack that caused serious bodily injury, a third-degree felony punishable by 2 to 10 years in prison. On Monday, Judge Joey Contreras formally sentenced Stanielle to 10 years of probation for the 2017 attack that resulted in an elderly woman losing an arm, and also ordered her to spend 90 days in Bexar County Jail, to be served on the weekends, and to not own a dog for at least the next 10 years. Doris Mixon Smith was 72 years old on March 6, 2017, when she was gardening at her home in the 8900 block of Mansfield on the far west side, only to be attacked by a pit bull named Bully that had escaped from the McLeod's yard next door. The dog latched onto her left arm and didn't let go, with Mixon Smith eventually losing that arm just under the elbow during the attack, while also suffering massive injuries to the right side of her face, which was torn from her eyebrow to her chin. Jurors and spectators viewed a horrific doorbell video that captured the attack, which could also be heard in 2 chilling 911 calls that were also played during the trial. After the couple's attorney argued that if they both went to prison, no one would care for their children, the jury handed the husband, Alfonso McLeod, a 4-year prison term and 10 years probation for his wife, Stanielle Miles McLeod. For more details on this case, listen to my interview with San Antonio Express News courts reporter Elizabeth Zavala for The Docket, our podcast covering trials at the Bexar County Courthouse, available for free download at expressnews.com and wherever you listen to podcasts. Tensions were up Monday in Austin as residents were reeling from Sunday's 4th explosion in a string of bombing attacks that began earlier this month and have now hit a wide array of targets around the capital, with law enforcement now issuing an unconventional plea to Austin's suspected serial bomber, asking the person to contact the police in the wake of a tripwire being used to trigger a bomb that injured 2 young men in a Southwest Side neighborhood. Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and Explosives Special Agent Fred Milanowski says as authorities believe whoever is behind the attacks has a reason and wants to send a message, they are encouraging those responsible to contact the Austin Police Department. Sunday's explosion was reported just after 8:30 p.m. in the Travis Country neighborhood and sent 2 men in their early 20s to the hospital with non-life-threatening injuries. While the latest bombing differs in the use of a tripwire and the previous 3 were package bombs, police report they found similarities between Sunday's attack and the previous bombs that went off in areas of East Austin. Authorities say they've investigated several people of interest in the case but still require more information. $115,000 in reward money is currently available for tips that lead to an arrest in the case. And while the Fiesta Flambeau Parade may be more than a month away, members of the Kazamba Dance and Drum Group are working to fine-tune their act for the 70th anniversary of what's billed as America's largest illuminated night parade. For the past 16 years, the dance and drum troupe has thrilled Fiesta crowds with their Afro-Brazilian and Caribbean salsa-infused rhythms, while also performing at other local venues like Mardi Gras on the Riverwalk and the Texas Folklife Festival, as well as fests in Las Vegas and New York. Made up of 13 drummers and 20 dancers, 2018 is a year of firsts for the troupe, whose members range in age from 13 to 73 and include veterans, a nurse, a teacher, and administrators. This year, they're introducing an inaugural Fiesta medal, a parade float, and their own royal court, with a queen and 2 princesses. In addition to these headlines, our reporters are chasing down additional leads, including today's expected warning by Comptroller Glenn Hegar that the state's credit rating is at risk, and a fresh push for his proposal for investing the rainy day fund in slightly riskier items that have better returns than the current investment plan. We're also following today's meeting of the city's audit committee to discuss its review of Centro San Antonio, the troubled downtown-focused nonprofit that has spent thousands of dollars on lobbying and entertainment, while also having its staff accountant tied to the embezzlement of $291,000. And that's your Express Briefing for Tuesday, March 20th from expressnews.com. Brought to you this morning by the San Antonio Express News. I'm Chance Dorland.